morning and welcome to Atlantic Television Network. The program is Atlantic Blowout. And as always, Atlantic Blowout is a syndicated live program of the network that features chit-chats and conversations on special interest topics, news, events and stories through correspondence reports, experts' opinion and stakeholders' analysis. Today, we'll be taking a story from Lagos State where we have reports that only 15% of property owners actually have approvals. And then from the National Assembly, reps urge federal government to implement Export Prohibition Act. And on VAT, we are ready to implement executive order, a statement by the minister. And then on tax, FIRS launches USSD code to simplify services. We'll talk about the fuel hike, where NLC condemns price increase and criticizes the federal government. On federalism, Nigeria on wrong development path. A statement by the Bayelsa State Governor, Doye Diri. We'll go on a short break. After that, I'll let you know who my amazing guests in the studio with me are. My name is Enidoye Jackson. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
From the lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Thank you so much for standing by. The program is still Atlantic Blowout on Atlantic Television Network. I told you after the break I'll introduce my guests who are seated with me in the studio. On my right is Mufasa Amosan. He's one of our ATN Blowout regulars and he's a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mufasa.
Yeah, good morning, Neni Jackson. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and I also have with me the man who has not been around but is around now, Alfredo El Nino. He is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Alfredo.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Eni. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome to.
All right, let's move on to Lagos State. Lagos State government has revealed that only 15% of property owners in the state have obtained building approvals and just 75% have complied with the state's physical planning laws. This was disclosed during a media briefing ahead of the first ever physical planning summit that was aimed at addressing the urban development challenges in Lagos. According to the Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Oluyinka Olumide, the low compliance rate presents a significant challenge at the state's infrastructure and development. He emphasized the urgent need to review the current urban development plans to address infrastructure demands and maintain Lagos status as the megacity. Okay. The summit themed Thinking Lagos, a new vision for a regional and integrated megacity will take place on October 15 and 16. Bring it together. Okay, now let's go on to the statement that was made about only 15% of property owners in Lagos actually have approval. And listening to who is making this statement, you already know that it is credible to the extent that it actually is. All right, I'd like to bring you in on this one first, Elino.
First and foremost, let me digress a little.
Okay.
Lagos can be likened to Canada, where you have over 88% of the population in Canada as foreigners. Now, whom are these people that comprise of the Lagos population? These are also foreigners. What is the geographical formation of Lagos as a state and as an entity? You know, if you look at this, you will see over time that over 70% or 75% of Lagosians are non-Lagosians. Like Mr. President, Mr. President is not a Lagosian, but he resides in Lagos. And after staying in Lagos over a period of time, you'll be considered as a Lagosian, which means you can be called on to participate in politics or its orbit, you know. So to that effect, people just went into Lagos, done certain areas, began to build in waterways without sea of O's and all of that, which has accumulated to where we are. And the question to us is, how far are we going to go with this? Now you look at Lagos under bureaucracy. From time immemorial, the Nigerian senatorial has issues with statistics. They just told us it is 25%. How are we sure it is really 25%?
That 15% of property owners?
Yeah.
Okay.
15%. You know? Now, looking at this now, whom are these 15% that are compliant? You know? What are their classes? Whom are they? Where is the geographical area accrued to all of this? You know, if we embark on a pathfinding mission towards this, you find over time that there's an empirical diversification of human influx into Lagos. And with this, Lagos that used to be termed as the mega city is now a free for all. Where people just.
So you don't think people should be allowed to come into build in Lagos? Is that what you're saying?
I think there's what we call due process.
Okay.
What's happening in Lagos cannot happen in most of the other states. You know? You see people living in shanties under the bridge, and people are even taking rent for their fellow citizens to live under the bridge. That is Lagos for you. Like my dad will always say, Lagos is a no island.
But you know that's not peculiar to Lagos anyway. But let's hear from Mufasa. What do you think about this story?
Well, I would like to draw my inference from what my senior brother here has said, that talking about statistics and you know, getting this kind of reports, like you rightly ask, how do you arrive at this percentage when we do not have an accurate record of the number of people that we have in this country, even in Lagos State? Then looking at the numbers of building and those who have violated the laid down rules and regulations as to regards building, setting up of structure. I think what we just saw, or the report just stated, is a recipe for disaster, because already we are having, you know, incessant cases of building collapse. You know, it's quite unfortunate that we'll be getting this. Now, the question now is, as a government, what exactly has the administration of the current leadership of Lagos done to strengthen that institution? Like you rightly said, it's not peculiar to Lagos alone. You know, we also have cases of people violating building plans and all of that. And we have offices that are saddled with the responsibility to ensure compliance.
And sometimes we have these buildings being inspected.
That's what I'm saying now. So it's either, you know, they've been compromised, allowing builders to circumvent the system, putting the lives of the people in harm's way. Because it's not enough for you to say, okay, I want to build, assuming in fact, you don't even get any approval, because the report said they don't even have approval. So it's not a case of getting approval for a bungalow or a story building, and you went as far as building a high-rise building, like maybe a 3-story, or, you know, something that, you know, is not permitted in that particular location. But in this case, no approval at all. And these structures have been standing for a very long time. So you see, it is something that is not just coming to give us the situation reports. We want to see punitive measures meted out on those, because 50% is just a handful of the population of people who have set up structures in Lagos. We are talking about out of 100%, only 15% are in compliance with laid down rules and regulations. So the system is faulty, and the government should not remove himself from blame, because it is something that has been happening over the time and over the years, and nothing has been done about it. And I will not be surprised if this is just a kind of you know, just trying to mesmerize the people with this kind of report, and nothing will be done about it.
Earlier this year, we heard a lot of reports about buildings that were brought down in Lagos. In fact, it was trending online where people were making videos and saying, oh, they're building down our houses and all of that. So saying nothing has been done about it, don't you think that is a measure?
Now, you see, when you bring down buildings of violators, what now happens to those people saddled with the responsibility to ensure that those buildings are not even there in the first instance? My friend here said something which was, for me, you know, very, very pathetic, that even people that take sojourn, people that live under the bridges, people that live in shanties, you see people going there to collect rent, you know, people going there to collect one or two things, who are agents of government.
Whose land is under the bridge?
Under the bridge is not even a place that should be called you know, an habitable space. People are not meant to live under the bridge. But in this case, it is well structured. You see, they have even doors and windows. You know, structures attached to the bridge, and people have been living there for ages. So it took intervention. So for me, it's not as if they just found out. It could just be that let the government just come out to show that they are doing something. When you destroy, demolish buildings of some persons, what now happens to the people who allow these things to be set up in the first instance, and these are agents of government. So as they are coming out to tell us that almost 75% of the structures in Lagos does not have approval, because that is the implication of this report, that if 15%, and if you minus 15% from 100%, what will be remaining is 75%. And if we have 75% structures, 85%, sorry, forgive my mathematics, you know, it's been long that we did calculations and all of that. Is problem of this
You've
country.
Been spending money.
Yes, what we really won't have to. So the head is, so 85% of the structures in Lagos are, you know, are inhabitable, because if you don't have approval, it simply means that anybody living in those places, they are living there at their own peril, and it's quite unfortunate.
You know, going through this story, I saw a part where they said that we are committed to carrying out our duty, and looking at this calculation and this percentage, it begs the question, what duty are we committed to carrying out that we allowed it to get to the extent where 75% of the buildings do not have approval? Last I checked, those buildings may have been supervised. People don't just start up buildings. There are processes that they should actually follow. Nobody just stands and then just erects a building without following due process.
I think I'm going to start donning my jerseys here with the inscription corruption. Gross corruption is grossly responsible for all of this. Now, to this effect, I can tell you it's also likened to the government putting square pegs in round holes. Now, there are people heading all of these devices. Now, the question now is, who are you? Where are you coming from? What is your portfolio as a graduate? Are you grounded enough to permeate all of this? People don't just carry out pathfinding missions towards all of this. The next thing you will hear, Mr. A or Mrs. B have been given this lopsided appointment. At the end of the day, you will see that they are unable to deliver. Why? Because that is not their spectra, their area of specialization, which has been happening over time. And this is so appalling, and as a matter of fact, I'm calling all government agencies to do the needful to make sure such persons are weeded out of the system, so that we can have a bureaucracy wherefore we have the true light in terms of technology, technical know-how, and permissibility of how people should dwell.
All right, thank you so much, Alfredo. Let's look at our next story now. All right, the House of Representatives has called on the federal government to urgently implement the Export Prohibition Act 2004 to address food smuggling and mitigate food insecurity in Nigeria. They also recommended that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security offer more incentives to boost agricultural production, following a motion sponsored by Honorable Mokhtar Shagaya titled Need to Curb Export Prohibition Act to Curb Insecurity in Nigeria. The House emphasized food smuggling is a major contributor to the nation's food shortages, inflation, and insecurity, further exacerbating hunger and hardship across the country. Now, committees on agriculture, customs, commerce, and industry were directed to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. The House expressed concern over reports from the World Bank and the International Rescue Committee indicating that over 31.8 million Nigerians, representing about 16% of the population, are suffering from severe food insecurity and malnutrition. Okay, implementing the act is seen as essential for curbing the illegal food export, securing local food availability. I would like to ask you on the percentage of people that are suffering from food insecurity in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on that particular percentage?
Well, it's still within the realm of speculations and guesswork. We just talked about the unavailability of dependable data and statistics. So we're all aware that there is hunger in the land, there is food shortages and all of that. And the most cause of that, for me, is as a result of the inability of the government to provide security for farmers. Now, there's nothing wrong in exporting food. You know, there are nations of the world that are cashing out of food, you know, exporting business and all of that. But we have a case where farmers are paying taxes to bandits and, you know, terrorists, and it's equally affecting.
Paying taxes to bandits.
Yeah, I'm telling you for free. I'm sure you're aware. Just recently, a notorious bandit kingpin by the name Tuji Bello, what they call him these days, came out to say that he has reduced the taxes from, I think, a certain amount to a more, you know, affordable amount for the people. And it's really quite unfortunate that even you have bandit leaders who have shown more compassion to the people than the government. But I don't want to go into that. What I'm saying here is farmers have complained times without number that the activities of banditry is affecting, you know, their farming activities. So I think that should have been properly looked into. I see nothing wrong in trying to ensure that, you know, the people within the Nigerian geographical space get more before you think of feeding those outside. But then again, let us also look at the root cause of, you know, the problem we are facing today. You know, you don't cut off a tree from, you know, from the top. You cut it down from the roots. That is when you've addressed the issue. So for me, I feel that is one of those their usual antics.
So you're saying
of trying to.
insecurity on the farm has led to the smuggling?
That is the major cause. It's not the cause of the smuggling. You know, it's not the cause of the smuggling. And if you go to those farm settlements, those communities that are occupying the border towns of this country that easily, you know, move their, you know, their products out of the country, you know, they've been doing these things long before now. It's like a business, you know, unless, of course, the government, they want to come and tell us that perhaps they're not getting what they should get in terms of revenue and all of that. But if you want to look at the issue critically as they truly are, the problem facing food shortages in this country, the causative factor, the major one is as a result of farmers not getting adequate security to go into their farms and do their farming activity. That is the major issue. All these other ones are just window dressing. Once you want to tackle the matter, face it squarely, and, you know, you get results. People who have been doing businesses before, I don't know the way and manner that they've been, you know, pushing their products out from the country. But then again, like I've said before, and I will continue to repeat myself, when farmers are not secured, if they are not guaranteed that adequate security when they are doing their farming activities, it's going to affect productivity. So that is the major cause of the food shortages that we have.
At the end of the day, smuggling is smuggling. There's no way we want to